By now, I'm sure you have heard someone say that sports is a microcosm of what society is. Well, I would say that this game, the final, I saw poor officiating and poor execution of the game we call basketball. There's been quite a stir around the WNBA finals between the New York Liberty and the Minnesota Lynx. Some fans are shouting, it's rigged. Well, that's a serious accusation, isn't it? So I thought I would take a closer look just to see what was really going on beneath the surface. Now, when you say a game is rigged, that suggests there's some kind of deliberate manipulation happening. But let me ask you this. If game five was rigged, does that mean that game four was rigged too? And game three before that? It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Doesn't quite add up, or does it? So you see, it's more like a car tire with a bubble. At first, it's just a little wobble, hardly noticeable. But if you don't address it, well, eventually that bubble's going to pop. And when it does, it's a blowout at high speed. That's what we're seeing here. Not necessarily rigging, but a slow, unchecked decay in the moral fabric of the game. So, post game press conference by Coach Reeves. Let's get into it.
As New York
I
turned up the
saw
pressure.
I saw a very physical and aggressive New York team. We know this from being a part of the game for so long that sometimes you get away with stuff when you're physical and aggressive, and they certainly did. It's a shame that officiating had such a hand in a series like this. Obviously, there's always going to be a team that's going to be a little more disappointed than the other. I thought today was incredibly disappointing. The challenge, we have got to change our challenge rules, and the officials doing the game should have a third party. And I know all the headlines will be Reeves cries foul. Bring it on, right? Bring it on, because this shit was stolen from us. Bring it on.
Coach, when you make a comment like that, what do you say to your ladies on the team about how to process this?
Well, we talked about it, we know we could have done some things, right? But you shouldn't have to overcome to that extent. This shit ain't that hard. Officiating it's not that hard. When someone is being held, be consistent. If you don't want to hold it one, then don't call it the other. Be consistent. Every team asked for that, right? Sandy asked for that last game. So three of the games in the series, we're talking about the same damn thing, right? So I tell these guys, for whatever reason it didn't work out, right? It just doesn't feel right that you lose a series with that level of discrepancy.
Coach Reeves makes a very good point there. The level of discrepancy. But here's the thing: is the level of discrepancy has been existent in the semifinals. It was existent all season long. The level of discrepancy has been present, and our fans have been screaming from the mountaintops that the officiating was unbalanced. It was always leaning one way. And now that we're in the finals and that her team was affected, it hits home. It's personal because now she feels the ramification of this imbalance, of this huge discrepancy when it comes to officiating where it leans one way. But mind you, in game four, when the Lynx won, the discrepancy there was that the Lynx shot 20 free throws and the Liberty shot 9 free throws. Now, when we move to New York, the discrepancy there is that the Lynx only has the opportunity for 8 free throws, whereas the Liberty takes 25 free throws. That's a huge level of discrepancy. But those level of discrepancies have existed all season long. It was present in semifinals, and it was present during the regular season. Let's continue to hear what Coach Reeves have to say.
And we don't have a team that whines and complains and, all that stuff. And, sometimes it probably hurts us. Maybe being a little more, I don't know, something. But I just think that, You have a star player like Fee, I don't get it. I don't get how she can be held and go to the basket and get hit. And then a marginal, at best, sends their best player to the free throw line. That's tough. It's tough to swallow. Just like our 2016 championship that was lost.
So you can definitely feel for Coach Reeves and the Lynx, and in her, you can sense it and feel it in her voice that this is very frustrating. As she mentioned that Fee, which is her star player, was held the entire game, and she didn't go to the free throw line one time in 40 some odd minutes that Nafisa Collier played. She didn't get one free throws. And there's evidence. There's pictures of her getting mauled, hand in the face. But again, the fans have been screaming about this all year long. When it came down to Caitlin Clark in the semifinals, in the first round, there were no fouls called. You can see her getting slammed in the face, clawed in the eyes, no fouls. And those happen at critical times in the game. So now when we move forward in the finals, it's really no different because everybody's that's playing in the first round, they're playing for the finals. Semifinals, they're playing for the finals. In the finals, you're playing for the finals. So it doesn't matter. Even when you go back into in a regular season, you're playing because the position that you finish in the regular season determines your position in the playoffs, home court advantage. So all of this along the way is always affecting what the finals outcome would be. So now that we're in the finals, everything has been heightened, but these things were existent all season long. Fans have been screaming about officiating all season long, and now people are crying about is rigged. Is it rigged? Maybe. But more importantly, is expected status, because we have seen this happen all season long. And now we're in the final that everybody can see it is magnified. But for both those who have been watching all season, it's expected status. We understood. We see it. Is it fair? No. Is it reality? Yes. Let's continue to listen to what Coach Reeves had to say. Oh, but before, so you also hear Coach Reeves bring up 2016 championship, right? So in 2016, Coach Reeves and the Lynx played against the LA Sparks. At that time, Candace Parker was playing with LA Sparks, okay? In that game, there was a discrepancy regarding the shot clock, potential shot clock violation. As a result, the Lynx were on the short end of that decision. So they lost the championship. And this is what Coach Reeves is talking about. But you fast forward 1 year later, the same two teams are in the WNBA finals. Okay? If you look at what Candace Parker said in the article, she stated that there were discrepancy calls in the 2017 game as well. But they were on the short end of the stick, and the Lynx won that game. So now we fast forward 2024, the Lynx and Liberty are playing. There's a discrepancy on a call made by officiating, right? And as a result, the Lynx are on the short end of the stick this time. So if history, repeats itself, are we saying that in 2025, if the Lynx happen to be in the playoffs, in the finals, that if the discrepancy call, it will go their way? Patterns. Okay? Patterns. Consistency, inconsistency. Now let's look at another thing here. Another thing that I discovered as I was looking to timeline and occurrences. So in last year, in the voting for the MVP, okay, Breanna Stewart, okay, Breanna Stewart won the MVP last year. Becky Hammond, coach of Aces, was livid, right? Livid, completely just blew it. The Ace wound up winning the championship, played very well, but they won the championship, right? Now, after that game, all year long, people were talking about Aja Wilson is the MVP. She's the best in the world. You couldn't say anything other than that. Great. Now we come to the end of the season. This time, Aja Wilson wins the MVP. Breanna Stewart wins the championship. It's almost like a flip-flop. It's almost like a mirror image just changed around a little bit. Just curious. Just curious. Let's continue to hear what Coach Reeves have to say.
Officiating, missing a shot clock violation. This sucks. This is for a championship, right? For both teams. Let them decide it. What contact is legal should be the same for both teams. This isn't that hard. And so it's disappointing. Congratulations to the Liberty on their first championship. Been around, I don't know, how long has the league been around? 28 years? It took them 28 years. Congrats to them. We were that close to our fifth. Just didn't happen, right? It's disappointing. It's incredibly disappointing. But these guys, they got to try to pick themselves up and go, we were that damn close. And,
you can literally hear the frustration, anger, and pain in Coach Reeves' voice. It's sad that he had to come down today, but sometimes, some things have to happen to bring or to shed light on issues that needs to be dealt with. And these are one of the issues that needs to be dealt with. We hear, and you've heard it by now. I'm sure you have heard someone say that sports is a microcosm of what society is. Well, I would say that this game, the final, was a microcosm of the entire season. So there should be no surprise that it ended the way that it ended, because we saw this happening all season long. As Coach Reeves said, the level of discrepancy, unbelievable. But the level of discrepancy existed all season long. No surprise, nothing new. That's why I really turned it on. About 3 minutes to go in the second quarter, I turned it on because I wanted to see for myself. I didn't want to have secondhand information. I wanted to see for myself, and I wanted to have my own opinion with my own eyes, using my own brain of what was happening and what took place. And I'm glad I did, because I was able to see it all unfold in the second half, even when the Lynx was up by 12 heading into halftime, and then seeing the Liberty cut their lead down to 7. Right then, I knew the Lynx were in trouble. I knew they were in trouble. Let's talk about numbers for a moment. In Game 4, the Lynx shot 20 free throws, while the Liberty only shot 9. Then in Game 5, it was almost the opposite. The New York shot 25 free throws compared to Minnesota 8. Now, that's quite a shift, don't you think? It raises questions about consistency in officiating. If the referees are calling fouls selectively, favoring one team over the other across different games, what does that say about the integrity of the officiating? Again, inconsistency was all season long. When Caitlin Clark drove to the hole against the Connecticut Sun and was basically forearmed in the forehead, into the face, and was dropped to the floor, no foul called. When Caitlin Clark was about to pass the ball and Carrington thrusted her fingers into her eyes, no foul call. And because there was no foul call, there was nothing refs can do after the fact. Next thing you saw was Carrington, bebopping and hopping into the lane for a layup. The very person that was involved with the assault, that's what it looked like. It looked like assault. The person who was involved in the assault was then, adding salt to the wound, was shooting a layup directly after that incident. Anyway, I digress. So when we see that, Cheryl Reeves, she's pretty heated about what she believes were no foul calls that cost their team crucial opportunities. When someone of her stature points out inconsistency, it adds weight to the argument, doesn't it? that we're not just dealing with isolated incidents, but a broader issue. You see, it's not about one game or one call, it's about a pattern, a series of missed or inconsistent calls that over time erode trust. Now, if you add up all these little things, suddenly you've got a much bigger problem. It's not just necessarily rigging, it's neglect. Letting these issues fester until they reach a boiling point. Let's break it down. In game 4, the Lynx taking 20 free throws, you'd expect a certain level of pressure on them. But then in game 5, New York racks up 25 free throws. It's as if the referees are swaying back and forth, not maintaining a consistent standard. When one team consistently gets the upper hand through questionable calls, it affects the outcome and, more importantly, the integrity of the game. Imagine a system where the rules aren't enforced uniformly. Players aren't held to the same standard. It creates an environment where frustration builds, both on the court and among the fans. And when the frustration boils over, well, that's when things get really messy. And let's not forget the fans. They're passionate, invested, and they've come to watch a fair and exciting game. When they see their team being penalized unfairly, or worse, the other team getting a free pass, it breeds delusionment. They start to feel that the game isn't being played on a level field, and that's a dangerous place to be. So what does this all mean? Well, it's a wake-up call. If we choose to ignore these systematic issues, we're setting ourselves up for more blowouts down the line. Not the ones on the court, but the ones in the hearts and the minds of the fans who come to watch a fair and exciting game. In the end, it's not just about pointing fingers or shouting "it's rigged." It's about recognizing that there's decay happening, and if we do not address it now, we're all going to feel the impact. Just like this bubble in the tire, we need to fix the issue before it causes a complete breakdown. Just like we saw in this year's final game, Game 5 showdown in the Barclays Center. All eyes on New York, all eyes on WNBA blowout because of officiating that have been inconsistent, that have been a travesty all year long. And now we're crying foul. As you can see, foul can be used in more than one way. We're crying foul that this was all wrong. It was all wrong all year. And anything that you allow to fester would eventually show its ugly head. And that's what we saw tonight. Unfortunately, the Lynx was on the short end of the stick. The Liberty they've won their first championship in 28 years, as Coach Reeves so eloquently put it, right? This is what we're dealt with. So what do we expect to see in 2025? The question is, how many fans will be returning in 2025? Because I assure you, there are many fans that are not going to return. And should they return, they will be returning to watch Caitlin Clark. And the moment she exits, they're out. All across the board, all across the community, in the discourse is, I am done. I'm finished with WNBA. This was a joke. And unfortunately, this incident, this situation has made the WNBA look very, very bad. So as a result of the travel that wasn't called, several steps taken by Breanna Stewart prior to dribbling the ball, that led to the foul that was called, that is causing fandom to say all of this is foul. So what do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you're ready for more breakdowns like this one. Subscribe and turn your notifications on so you don't miss a thing. And until next time, keep balling.